Ever notice how some people treat every little thing like a personal attack? Someone cuts them off in traffic, they lose their mind. A friend takes too long to text back, they think it is betrayal. The barista messes up their order, day ruined. But then there are those people who just don't get bothered by anything. They move through life like nothing can touch them. Someone insults them, they shrug it off. Something goes wrong, they adapt and keep moving. What do these calm people know that the rest of us don't? Most of us live like pinballs, bouncing from one reaction to the next. Bad weather makes us miserable. No text back and our self-worth crashes. A stranger gives us a weird look and we spend hours thinking about it. Here's the thing. It is not luck or special genetics that makes some people unshakable. They just stop playing a rigged game. Most people think the outside world controls their emotions. But that is wrong. It's how you interpret what happens that creates your feelings. Let me break it down. Someone flips you off in traffic. You have two choices. Option 1. Take it personally. Let it ruin your day. Rant about it for hours. Option 2. Shrug. Assume they have problems. Keep driving. Same event. Totally different experiences. The only difference, the meaning you gave it. This applies to everything. That harsh comment only hurts if you give it power. That rejection only stings if you let it define you. That bad day only ruins your week if you keep replaying it. Most of what bothers people is actually happening to them. It is happening in their head. They stuck reacting instead of choosing what deserves their energy. Once you really get this, everything changes. The world stops controlling you and becomes something you experience on your own terms. So how do you actually make this switch? Stop giving your energy away for free. Most people hand over their peace of mind like it is a free sample. Someone online leaves a negative comment, 2 hours spent mentally arguing. Someone gives you a weird look, time to overthink every interaction. Minor inconvenience, whole day shot. It's like running a business and giving away everything for free. You need to start charging. Ask yourself, does this opinion pay my bills? Will I remember this next week? Is this even my problem? 90% of what stresses people out is just other people. It's baggage. Someone is rude to you, that is their issue. Someone doubts you, that is their limited thinking. Someone disrespects you, that says more about them than you. When you react emotionally, you basically saying, here, take my peace. I don't need it. But your peace of mind is your most valuable thing. The people who win at life figured out that most stuff just isn't worth their energy. When you stop reacting, something cool happens. People who used to trigger you lose their power. Things that used to ruin your mood barely register. The world feels lighter because you stop carrying stuff that was never yours. And once you taste that freedom, there is no going back. But here is the twist. Most people don't actually want control over their emotions. They say they do, but when life gets annoying, they take the bait every time. Boss sends a frustrating email? Time to mentally quit. Phone dies at 1%. The universe is against them. It's like people enjoy being controlled by their feelings. They say, I can't help it. That is just how I am. But here, it's the secret. The moment you stop reacting, you win. Not just personally, but in everything. There is a reason the most powerful people in any situation stay calm. The moment you lose emotional control, you hand over all your leverage. If someone can trigger you, they own you. If situations get under your skin, they control you. Now imagine the opposite. Someone makes a passive-aggressive comment. You don't even flinch. Someone tries to test you. Zero reaction. Life throws obstacles at you. You adapt and move on. This isn't about ignoring problems. It's about refusing to let problems own you. When you master this, people treat you differently. They don't test you as much. They respect your space. Best part, you start making decisions based on logic, not knee-jerk reactions. When you react emotionally, you on autopilot, and the world loves people who are easy to manipulate. Marketing teams prey on your impulses. Toxic people thrive on getting under your skin. Control systems rely on people who can detach. When you react, you predictable. And predictable people are easy to control. But when you stop being easily moved, when you become an observer instead of a reactor, you gain something most people never have. True freedom. In that space where nothing outside controls your internal state, you start living on your own terms. People say they want peace of mind and emotional control, but when something annoying happens, they react emotionally every single time. Your boss sends a frustrating email? You immediately start imagining quitting. Your phone battery dies? Suddenly the whole world is against you. It's like people actually enjoy being controlled by their emotions. They all say, I can't help it. This is just who I am. But here, it's the thing. The moment you stop reacting emotionally to everything, you win. This changes everything in your life. Why staying calm gives you power. Ever notice how the most successful people in business deals, social situations, or even arguments are the ones who stay calm? There's a reason for that. When you lose control of your emotions, you give away all your power. If someone can make you angry or upset, they basically control you. When situations get under your skin, those situations control your mental state. When you always reacting emotionally, the outside world is running your life. Now imagine the opposite. Picture yourself as someone who just doesn't take the bait. Someone makes a passive-aggressive comment, you don't even flinch. Someone tries to push your buttons, they get zero reaction. Life throws you a curveball, you adapt and keep moving. This isn't about ignoring real problems that need fixing. It's about not letting problems mess with your head. When you master this skill, people treat you differently. They stop testing you so much. They respect your boundaries. And you start making decisions based on clear thinking instead of emotional reactions they'll regret later. Why most people stay stuck here? This is what most people don't realize. When you react emotionally, you running on autopilot. And the world loves people who do this because they're easy to control. Advertisers target your emotional reactions. Toxic people love getting under your skin. Control systems depend on people who can detach from what is happening around them. When you react predictably, you become predictable. And predictable people are easy to manipulate. But when you stop being easily affected by outside stuff, when you become an observer instead of a reactor, you get something 99% of people never have. True freedom. In that space where nothing outside your mind controls your emotions, you finally start living life on your own terms. How to actually do this sounds great. But how do you make it work? The key is just understanding this mentally. You need to rewire your automatic response system. Most people don't realize how programmed they are to react instantly to everything. From childhood, they've been trained to respond immediately to our environment. Someone insults you, defend yourself. Something frustrates you, express those emotions. It's like walking around with an exposed control panel where anyone can push your buttons anytime they want. But what if you could shut down that control panel completely? This is where emotional immunity comes in. I am not talking about ignoring your emotions or becoming a robot. I am talking about breaking the cycle of instant reactions. Step 1. Observe. To absorb, most people absorb every situation like a sponge absorbs water. When someone around them is stressed, they get stressed. When someone treats them rudely, they feel personally attacked. Instead, train yourself to observe events without absorbing their emotional energy. Here is an example. You in line at a coffee shop and the worker behind the counter is having a bad day. She snaps at you for no reason. The average person absorbs this negative energy. They think, why is she being so mean to me? I didn't do anything wrong. Now their mood is ruined by a stranger's bad attitude. But someone who observes instead of absorbs sees what is happening without letting it affect them. They think, she must be going through something difficult right now. Same event, different response. The difference is that in the second case, the negative energy didn't decontaminate your emotional system. This is emotional detachment in action. You let the world move around you, but you don't let it move through you. Step 2. Create a pause. Ever notice how every decision you regret was made when you were emotionally heated? It's because emotional reactions bypass logical thinking and hijack your brain. It's decision making. The solution is learning to pause between what happens to you and how you respond. In that pause, you get your power back. The fix for this is simple but powerful. You need to pause before you react to anything. When someone says something that hurts you, take a moment before you respond. When anxiety starts building up in your chest, stop and breathe before you do anything. When you feel like starting an argument, hold back for just a few seconds before you speak. That brief moment of stillness gives your brain something really valuable. A real choice between two paths. You can react the way you always have, or you can respond with purpose. That conscious choice you make, that is where all your real power lives. Here, it's a pro technique that change how you handle tough situations. Before you respond to anything, ask yourself this question: is this actually worth my mental energy? Because 99% of the time, when you really think about it, it is not worth your energy at all. Step 3. Stop feeding the drama in your relationships, at work, or in your friend group survives by feeding off emotional reactions. Drama works like an ecosystem that needs emotional responses to stay alive and keep spreading. Gossip only spreads when people engage with it and pass it along. Toxic people only stick around when they get emotional reactions from you. Arguments only get bigger when both sides keep participating in the back and forth. When you decide to stop feeding this system with your emotional energy, the whole thing falls apart. Picture this: someone tries to pick a fight with you, and instead of reacting like they expect, you just smile and keep going with your day. They left standing there feeling powerless and confused because their usual strategy didn't work. Here is the truth about people who try to provoke you. They're not looking for truth or real conversation. They want control over your emotional state. When you give them nothing to work with, they lose that control immediately. That is why the most powerful person in any conflict is the one who refuses to take the emotional bait. Once you start practicing this consistently, you notice something interesting happening in your relationships. People will show you more respect. They won't test your boundaries as much. And those who do try to test you will quickly learn you're not the right person to mess with. Once you master emotional immunity, you become completely untouchable by other people. This attempts to control your feelings. But what when emotions feel too strong? At this point, you might be thinking, okay, this makes sense in theory, but how do I actually do this when my emotions feel completely overwhelming? That is where the final step comes in. This involves reprogramming how you process emotions before they even start affecting you. You might be wondering about those situations where emotions feel too powerful, where detaching feels impossible. That is a valid concern, and it is where most people get stuck. Let's be realistic here. If you spend your whole life reacting emotionally to everything, expecting to change overnight, be fair to yourself. But here is the key to understand. This about suppressing your emotions or pretending they don't exist. This is about reprogramming how your mind processes emotional experiences. Step 1. Train your mind like a muscle. Most people treat their emotions like wild animals that are completely uncontrollable. But emotions, just like muscles in your body, can be trained and strengthened through practice. Ever notice how some people stay completely calm under extreme pressure while others fall apart over minor problems? This difference doesn't exist because some people were born with superpowers. It exists because calm people have trained their nervous system to respond differently to stress. Your brain uses default pathways based on your past experiences and learned behaviors. If for years your brain has connected stress with panic responses, that's what it'll keep doing automatically. If your brain has linked criticism with defensive reactions, that response will happen immediately without you thinking about it. The secret to changing this pattern? You have to interrupt the automatic pattern when it tries to activate. Every time you're about to react emotionally, stop yourself and ask this powerful question: what would happen if I chose to respond in the completely opposite way this time? Instead of getting irritated, try smiling at the situation. Instead of rushing to defend yourself, choose to stay silent and observe. Instead of letting panic take control, take a slow, deep breath and calmly observe without judgment. Your brain will fight this new approach at first. It'll send urgent messages saying, no, we need to react the old way. This is how we always handled these situations. But if you keep overriding that automatic impulse and choosing a different response, eventually your brain will rewire itself and create new pathways. One day you'll notice something remarkable happening. Situations that used to trigger intense emotional reactions just don't affect you anymore. The old automatic response pattern just isn't there anymore. That's the exact moment when you're winning this battle for control over your emotional responses. Step 2. Control the story in your head. Most people don't realize this, but their internal dialogue in the story they tell themselves about events determines exactly how they feel about everything that happens. The next time something feels like it is negatively affecting your mood, ask yourself these questions. What story am I telling myself about this situation? Is this interpretation actually useful to me? Because 90% of the time, when you honestly examine your internal story, you discover it is not helpful at all. Step 3. Emotionally disarm people who try to provoke you. Here is a technique that completely change your life and how people interact with you. When people expect a specific emotional reaction from you and you give them nothing, it throws them completely off balance. Ever seen someone get insulted, and instead of getting angry and defensive, they just laugh and agree with the criticism? The conversation might go like this. "You are so stubborn and impossible to deal with." Yeah, it really is one of my best traits. "You never take anything seriously." I definitely try not to take things too seriously. "You don't care about anything, do you?" Nope, not really. This technique is called emotional aikido. You take someone's negative energy and flip it back on them in a way that completely neutralizes their attack. When you refuse to be affected by their attempts to provoke you, you send a crystal clear message. "You don't have any control over me or my emotional state." Nothing frustrates people more than realizing their attempts to trigger you aren't working at all. Here is what happens as a result. The less reactive you become, the more respect you earn from everyone around you. People test you and push your boundaries to see how much control they can gain over your reactions. The moment they realize you completely untouchable and unaffected by their tactics, they back off and stop trying to manipulate you. Being unshakable isn't about never feeling emotions or becoming a robot. It is about not letting your emotions control your decisions and actions. It is about making a conscious choice in every situation. You have to ask yourself, do I let this situation define who I am and how I feel? Or do I define how I want to experience this situation? Once you stop reacting emotionally to things that don't deserve your energy and attention, you finally start living life on your own terms. That is when your entire life really begins to change in profound ways. Look, I'm not saying this transformation happens overnight. You've probably been reacting the same way for years, maybe decades. Your brain has carved deep grooves in these emotional patterns. But here is what is amazing about the human mind. It is never too late to rewire it. Think about it this way. Every time someone pushes your buttons and you don't react, you literally rewiring your brain. Every time you pause instead of exploding, you rebuilding new neural pathways. Every time you choose your response instead of letting your emotions choose for you, you becoming a different person. And the best part, once you start seeing results, it becomes addictive. You catch yourself staying calm in situations that would have sent you through the roof before. You notice toxic people backing off because they can't get a rise out of you anymore. You make better decisions because you rethinking clearly instead of reacting from pure emotion. This isn't just about feeling better, though you absolutely will. This is about taking back control of your entire life experience. When you master your emotional responses, you master your life. Period. The people who figure this out early have a massive advantage. While everyone else is bouncing around like pinballs, reacting to every little thing, you be moving through life with intention and purpose. You have energy for the things that actually matter because you were not wasting it on stuff that doesn't. So here, it's my challenge to you. Pick one situation this week where you normally react emotionally and try the opposite approach. Just one. See what happens when you observe instead of absorb. Notice how it feels to stay in control of your own emotional state. What is the biggest challenge you face when trying to control your emotional reactions? Drop a comment below and let me know what situations tend to trigger you the most. I'd love to hear your thoughts and maybe we can work through some specific strategies together. If you found this video useful, please like it and subscribe to the channel. There are more videos on this channel that will help you become a better version of yourself.